Well, a very good morning and welcome back to Oberstdorf, second day of action here in the Tour de Ski. It's stage 4 of 7 and everyone looking forward to this. After yesterday's skiathlon, it is all about the pursuit. Freestyle again. In fact, 80% of the remaining tour is in the freestyle technique, so it certainly suits the skaters, those who specialise in the freestyle, although it has to be said that most of them are capable of racing in both disciplines. Well, Stina Nielsen, what a day yesterday. Surprised us by going into the lead in the Tour. That was largely on the back of picking up so many bonus seconds. 27 in all compared to the 11 that Heidi Weng picked up. And that was why Stina Nielsen is going to be racing in the red bib today and not Heidi Weng. An interesting race, short and sharp for the women yesterday. 2 lots of 5 kilometres. The first in the Classic. Nielsen didn't have brilliant wax, but still managed to pick up 12 bonus seconds on the intermediate time. No real drama in the change of ski where they switched from classic to freestyle, and then we thought we might see the Norwegians spark. I think one of the surprising things, Mike, is that the Norwegians never tried to dominate, which they have done in every stage of the Tour over the last couple of years.
I think, Patrick, when we looked at this before the start, we just thought there'd be 2 names out front. That would be Usberg and Weng. It didn't happen. They didn't have the power all day.
Yeah, and that allowed Diggins to get in there, who had another tremendous race, and watch her finish coming up now. This is the last 150 metres. It's Nielsen of Sweden, the sprinter, who holds her own up against Diggins, who stays low. A really gutsy performance from Diggins. Can't get her second win of the season, but she's on the podium. She's pushed herself all the way up into the top 5 of the Tour standings, so she's certainly one of those who could win at the end of the day. I think an outside choice, but Diggins delighted with her second place. Nielsen looks more and more the senior skier every race out.
Here in Oberstdorf. You know how hard these climbs are. How are you looking forward to being chased in the pursuit tomorrow in free technique?
Yeah, hopefully I can challenge Heidi and Ingvild, because I expect them to be in my back pretty soon. So it will be a tough race, and I'm looking forward to it.
Das war Stina Nielsen, die Führende in der Gesamtwertung der 11. Auflage der Tour de Ski. Und ein Gesprächspartner jetzt wird bei Helmut Schuck.
Well, I think we've got to... Here we go.
My back pretty soon, so it will be a tough race, and I'm looking forward to it.
Well, might as well reiterate what she said. Yeah, apologies for the slight technical problems there. There you see the stats for Stina Nielsen, 23 years of age, 7 World Cup wins to her name, and 18 podiums. That's after yesterday's race. Heidi Weng, of course, who will be chasing her, 6 wins and 63 podiums. Astonishing stats for Heidi Weng, but we can blow that away with Bjørgen's stats. 103 wins, 168 podiums in her career. By far and away the most successful female ski ever, but she's not here. Welcome back to Oberstdorf. The fans turning out in decent numbers, and there'll be many, many more for the second race of the day, the men's pursuit as well. Germany haven't had a huge amount of success in cross-country skiing over the last couple of years, Mike. It's a long shot from the Teichmanns and the Angeras, who used to dominate the World Tour.
Well, yeah, sorry, this young crop of German female skiers, I think this is a bright time. Yes, Nicole Fessel, she's the older campaigner in 10th position. Then Krul, 20-year-old, 14th position. Henning, there's a whole new batch. Böhler's one of the older ones, but there's a good mix of old and young in the German team.
Well, it's a lot warmer than yesterday. -7 at this time yesterday morning. The women were struggling to get their warm-ups completed, and today at just below freezing. They'll be glad that it's freestyle and not classic. Very, very difficult waxing conditions for a classic race, but that's not what we've got. Let's have a look at the course. You'll be familiar with it. 2 little climbs. They're still pretty steep, but they're there. And then that monster towards the finish of the 2.5-kilometre loop that has decided just about every race so far. Nielsen looked good on it yesterday. Ustiakov was was absolutely fantastic on that last climb of the men's race yesterday, and as a result both of them came away with the win. So Nielsen in red, Heidi Weng the World Cup leader in yellow. She's looking still in a good position, but there is a question mark over Heidi Weng's form. She didn't like the altitude of Valmoster. We thought she might respond better coming down to Oberstdorf, which is only 600 meters, but actually she's still showing the fatigue picked up from racing at altitude, and that's often the case.
It really is, and I think the Norwegians at the team briefing last night, I think the athletes themselves, Weng and Usberg, must have a small amount of concern in their minds. They've been so dominant in the sport, yet they were not able to break the pack yesterday, and that's got to be a little bit of a confidence knock for both of them, I think. And Stina Nielsen, on the other hand, she's never been more confident. She's walking taller, she's breathing better, she's confident, and she might start to believe that she can do some real damage here.
Yeah, but I would suggest winding the clock back 12 months. We talked about the possibility of the Norwegians taking stage 3 easy, knowing that Johaug and Weng both suffered really badly, having put in fantastic performances at this stage last year, and then it was just survival all the way through to Val di Fiemme. I'm not sure that's what happened, and our Norwegian insiders, they're suggesting that Weng and Usberg just didn't have what they usually have, and that Nielsen and Diggins were on really good form. So we'll see today. There's Heidi Weng. Is she going to be a little lighter on her feet? Weng, I think, still a favourite for the Tour, especially when you look at the times up the Alpe d'Huez. Usberg, well, she was some way off the pace on the last climb last year. 21:21 her climb time. Heidi Weng 19:37. Parmakovsky, has she lost her chance? 38 seconds behind. Jessie Diggins moving up the rankings in the Tour, but still 51 seconds behind, and that's where she'll start. It's a pursuit today, so Nielsen goes first. A 4-second lead over Weng, and Usberg following 12 seconds after Nielsen. So the race is underway. 10 kilometers the distance. It's in the freestyle technique. We're expecting a time of around 25 to 26 minutes, depending on the snow conditions, particularly on the uphill stages. There goes Usberg, Mike. Surely she doesn't want to ski on her own. Are we going to see a really quick first kilometre to try and make contact with Nielsen and Weng?
I think that's her best hope, Patrick. She has to close the door very quickly so that she gets some advantage to rest up behind Nielsen and, of course, Weng.
Now, we saw Nielsen putting in a fairly stiff warm-up. I wonder whether her plan is to go hard from the outset and try and keep the Norwegians at bay. Parmakovsky, that's a long, long wait she's had. Some 26 seconds later than Usberg out of the start gate. She really is on her own, because it's another 13 seconds back to Jessie Diggins.
Diggins really in no man's land. Yes, she'll catch Parmakovsky, I'm quite sure, but there's no other assistance there to help drag her forward.
Yeah, and Harsum wearing 6. If you were with us yesterday, you may remember Faller's name was 6th in the Tour, but Faller has withdrawn, and she's not done her teammate any favours at all. So Harsum's alone. She would have been just half a second behind Maiken Caspersen-Faller. Those two could have worked together. I'm slightly surprised the Norwegian camp, unless she's ill, and we haven't had a report on that, but Faller could have said, OK, I'll ski the first 3Ks with you, get you back into contact with Diggins, and then you can work with her.
It's interesting. I know we know Faller's an out-and-out sprinter, and every year she does pull out, but she did so well the other day, finishing 4th. Well, yesterday in the pursuit, finishing 4th.
Heidi Weng not really making any impression. Usberg closing down 8 seconds on Heidi Weng without any trouble at all, but now starts the first climb, and you can see the warmer conditions have meant the track has broken up already with just the warm-up. That is going to make life very, very tough, particularly for the men who race later on today. Number 7, Anne Kiloinen, 1:59 behind. She's starting a full 50 seconds behind Harsum of Norway. She's unlikely to see anyone in front of her, and so it might be a good idea for her to team up with her teammate Lara Mononen, who starts just behind. Then we've got von Siebenthal of Switzerland, Nicole Fessel, the first of the Germans away. Sadie Björnsson goes for the USA. Spirits high in the American camp after Jessie Diggins' performance yesterday. And number 15, that's Niskanen of Finland. The Finns have got a good record, of course, in the Tour de Ski. 16 is Slind. Hennig of Germany goes number 17. Then Charlotte Kaller of Sweden, 18. 19 is Randall. Böhler is 20. Hager of Norway, 21. And then Lotte Udnes Weng is number 22. And still they wait. Wave start for those further down the order at the 3-minute mark, so that's nice for them, Mike. Certainly that will save them a little energy if they tuck in behind. We were just having a look at some stats for cycling, the effect of slipstreaming on a bike when they're travelling at, what, 40 k's plus an hour, up to 70% advantage.
Incredible, isn't it? And, you know, the average pace on the flat sections alone here are still travelling, the female field travelling 25 kilometres an hour, 27. It'll be dropping into this hill to about 19 kilometres per hour and then 17 over the top.
Now, is Weng doing the right thing, taking her time closing in on Nielsen?
I think so. Nielsen put out, as you said, we saw her warming up, Nielsen, and she was really aggressive in her warm-up. She clearly had a plan to not make it easy for them to close the 4-second gap, but they're just hunting, aren't they, the Norwegians? But I think Østberg has a plan today. She knows that she needs to start making a lead if she wants to win this race. She's not the best climber. She's not bad, but she's not the best. And she'll be looking at Heidi Weng, I think, more than Nielsen, looking more towards the final day.
Yeah, she lost 45 seconds to Weng on the climb last year. I'm not sure Weng is on the form she was on last year. I think Østberg is a little better, so let's say that should be 15-20 seconds. Compare that to Nielsen, who was 23:40 on the climb, so she was, what, 2 minutes 20 slower than Østberg. So you think that's unlikely, but then again, Nielsen's in better shape. She's more mature. She's got more stamina than she had last year. So a top 3 in the Tour is possible. I still can't see her winning it, but top 3 very much a possibility.
Oh, she's a different athlete this year. She was 24th in the Tour de Ski last year, Nielsen, and now she's leading it. She's got to be feeling so positive about her performances. I think the pace is going to slow down at the front a little, relatively, Patrick, because nobody will want to lead at this stage, really. And at the moment, Nielsen doing all the work.
Yeah, and as the snow starts, and it's due to get heavier as the day goes on, and it's very, very wet snow indeed, you really want to be tucked in behind someone else. Stay out of the wind and find some sort of press track to ski on. Nielsen still allowed to lead. Weng settling in second. And the longer this goes on, the greater the chance for Parmakoski and Diggins to catch up with that leading group of 3. There's Diggins, who started, what was the margin? It was 13 seconds, the margin between her and Parmakoski. Looks as though she's closed a little of that. How impressed are you with Diggins?
Well, I'm just looking at her head, completely looking down at her boots almost. Normally you want to keep the head up and it brings the hips forward.
Now, on this climb yesterday, Mike, the width between particularly Heidi Weng's feet when she was planting the new ski was enormous on that last lap. So the harder they're working, the further apart the skis stay. In the old days, coaches were always trying to tell people to get the ski back in as close as you could. But nowadays, you can't afford that time. You've got to keep the tempo, therefore you keep the legs out.
Very much, and the best skiers are keeping lower, and that's why the feet are not coming in underneath them. There isn't time.
Look at all the movement of the hip of Jessie Diggins. Is that something you'd work on?
I think it would. I watched her yesterday up that final climb, and she is just so gutsy. She is the Rottweiler in the race. She just keeps fighting, but I'm quite sure our coaches will be looking, listen, we can make this more efficient. There's a 1.2, 1.5% to improve on, I think, there.
Susan Dunkley, of course, on the biathlon tour. Slightly different technique. I guess the Americans, for much of their training, they're out on their own, and Nielsen says she's had enough after the first 2.5k. A quarter of the race completed, no change in the leading 3 as we pick up on Catherine Rolsted Harsum, another of the Norwegians, 27-year-old, made her debut back in 2010, and she's never finished on the podium. She's got a personal best of 4th position, and of course she got that in the sprint in Val Moster. Now, if we look at the top 3, Mike, they've got 19 wins and 119, in fact 20 20 wins after yesterday and 120 podiums between them. The next three, Palmakoski, Diggins and Harsum, have 4 wins and 18 podiums. It's a massive difference.
It really is, Veng. But I think without Johaug racing this winter and without Marit Bjørgen here in this event, for different reasons, I think that Veng and Usberg they've got more status now. They are able to lead and compete. But I'll tell you what, they need to pick this pace up. Already Palmakoski has pulled 15 seconds back in the first 2.5. Nobody could have predicted that. It'll pick up the pace now though.
But Palmakoski will be working harder, and that might suggest that on the last couple of laps the leading three will be able to open up the margin again. Welcome back to Oberstdorf. This is the scene at the front of the women's 10-kilometre pursuit. Nielsen in white started the race. She's had 4 seconds taken out of her by Heidi Veng. Usberg going to the front for the first time. She looks very strong, Usberg. That was an incredibly quick time. She managed to close down the 12 seconds between herself and the lead. It doesn't come free, Mike, so she's used up some of those reserves. But I just think Usberg looks relaxed, she looks strong, and the Norwegians, I think, will be glad after yesterday when they must have been wondering what was going on.
They'll be feeling. But look at Nielsen's glide. Her skis are running beautifully. Heidi can't believe that Nielsen's coming up so fast on that glide. Now that's got to be worrying a little bit for Veng and Usberg, that the Swede beside them has much faster skis.
Palmakoski for the first time visible in the background. No sign of Jessie Diggins as yet. Diggins started 13 seconds behind Palmakoski, and we will get a split. We'll try and let you know how Diggins is getting on. I think actually the margin between the Finn and the American has grown substantially to something close to 24 seconds.
It has, although on the positive for Diggins, she's actually pulled 3 seconds back on the lead, well, which was Stina Nielsen. So the pace, I think, at the front, it's nobody really wanting to take it on. Nielsen said, right, come on past, I've done enough work, and then really not quite willing. Heidi Veng went to the front, and as usual now, like in La Clusa before Christmas break, Usberg does all the work at the front, and it doesn't often do her any favours. It didn't in La Clusa when she was taken.
Well, it didn't in the sprint, but she looked pretty good in the other races, certainly in Valmoster. We'll see how this one pans out. I suspect...
Yes, she broke early in Valmoster, yeah.
I suspect that Usberg will stand aside after the completion of this lap and let Heidi Veng or Nielsen take their share of the lead. Bonus seconds for the first three across the line, Mike, and we always talk about the fact that the bonus seconds at the end actually determine the win. Is it time to get rid of the bonuses, because then we're going to have a much tighter tour?
Do you know, I think it is, because if you take these bonuses today away, the winner gets 15, second 10, third 5, then you're almost right off 4th place, 5th place, or you disadvantage them massively by not being up the front.
And you've got to remember, they already had a 30-second advantage over 4th place at the start of today, so they're sort of being handed success on a plate. You've got to find some way of making the racing exciting, but not at the cost of killing off the tour before certainly the final stage, and perhaps even before we go to Val di Fiemme.
What about, you could say, 15, 10 and 5-second bonus for the absolute track time, the 3 fastest. It's often likely to be those at the front, but you never know. Palmakoski at the moment, she's a classic specialist. She's setting the fastest time. I don't think she'll maintain that. She's really trying to close them down, and I think she'll suffer as the race goes on.
Yeah, the only problem with that suggestion is it would mean that the 3 at the front would not play cat and mouse, and we wouldn't get the interesting situation that's developing now.
Yes.
That as they toy with each other, Palmakoski is closing on them. But I do take your point.
I'm surprised that Jess Diggins hasn't closed the gap that she had at the start. Only 13 seconds behind Palmakoski. She's tried, but she hasn't been able to.
Well, we'll get you an update on Diggins. Last we saw, she was 52 seconds behind the leaders, having started. She started 51. There's Diggins, and from a 13-second margin, it is much closer to 25 now. So something not quite right for the American, who, remember, won a 5K freestyle in Lillehammer and looked very good. Actually, Jess Diggins was training in New Zealand this year. Do you think that's got something to do with the form she's shown so far?
I think it's a great routine the Americans play by going to New Zealand for 3 weeks, because it's not that high in terms of altitude. You know, if you go to the glaciers in Europe, it's 2,600 metres. It's only 1,800 metres in New Zealand, and they get a great base training on their skis.
Have you been to the snow farm?
I have. It's gorgeous.
Up above Cadrona, not far from Wanaka. It's got to be one of the most beautiful places you can go and train, and actually the track's kept in very good condition.
I know if I was an athlete again and had the opportunity, I would definitely go there for base myself 3 weeks there in August, September.
Well, here's someone who's looking tired, Mike Harsum. Not enjoying the fact that she started on her own. She was 50 seconds clear of Anne Kiloinen of Finland. Kiloinen, from what we can see, is still only just over 2 minutes behind. Harsum was 1:10 last time we saw, so although she looks as though she's moving slowly, well, she's now 1:37, so in the last kilometre and a half, Harsum has lost a lot of time. She's lost almost 30 seconds.
I think since Usberg went to the front, took on the lead time, now the pace at the front is very much faster, but Parmakoski is still the fastest on the track at the moment, 25 behind the lead.
Fessel is number 10. She started 2:15 off the leaders. Number 9, that's von Siebenthal of Switzerland, who's had a good tour so far, von Siebenthal. She started 2:09 behind and actually hasn't lost much time to the leaders at all. So Harsum's in danger of moving down the order. She looks a different animal compared to 3-4 days ago.
She certainly does. Some spark there.
Bjornsson at 2:17. She started 2:16, so she's done very well indeed. And in this, is that Shikalova? I think it is. Should be wearing bib number 12.
It is Shikalova.
Shikalova actually going really well. She's kept pace with the leading 3 and looks to have a good pair of skis on her feet as well, pulling away from the Swiss and the Germans on that downhill section. So as they come towards the end of lap number 2.
Now I noticed, Patrick, again, the big descent into the stadium. Nielsen skis, it was so much easier for her to just glide over the bridge, and I think she'll be feeling great for the finish. But the two Norwegians will think, well, we can't allow Nielsen to be with us in that final 500 because she'll beat us in the sprint. So they're going to really push the pace now.
Yeah, so generally the rule is, if you want to get rid of the sprinters, you've got to go before the final lap, because they then feel they can hang on long enough. And we saw what Nielsen did on that final climb yesterday. And don't forget, in the skiathlon, the second phase, the decisive phase, is in the freestyle technique. So Nielsen will be confident if she can stay with them through to the end of lap number 3, then she'll feel that she can win this one again.
Have you ever seen skis that are so much better than those in front? The Norwegians must be a little annoyed that their technicians haven't quite got the waxing, the ski base, as correct as the Swedish.
Of course, there is an element of technique in there as well, and there's the fact that the slipstreaming has effect, and the Norwegians want Nielsen to come through and do some work. How brave are they going to be? How slow are they prepared to go? I don't think they'll be too worried about Parmakoski in terms of beating them in the Tour standings, but they've got to be wary that Parmakoski doesn't make contact on this 3rd lap.
I love this, because this is really unsettling for Usberg, for Weng. The fact that Nielsen is saying, no, I'm not going to lead, and quite right, so she should not lead. Her strength is the final. She just wants to win this one.
She's a big, strong athlete, Stina Nielsen, and I think she's just shown that she's maturing very, very fast. A lot of people would have been intimidated by the fact that Usberg and Weng were saying, come on, get through, do your amount of work. There will have been some verbal contact. Of course, the Norwegians and Swedes can converse quite happily, but Nielsen said, on your bike, on your bike. I'm
not
staying where I am. Yeah, great stuff, like it.
Quite right, and it's so, we don't often see Norwegians intimidated like that, but I think right now, Stina Nielsen is intimidating them. I do think they'll push hard up the big 34-meter rise climb, and they might get rid of her a little bit this time round.
Harsum, who started a full minute ahead of von Siebenthal, of Switzerland, who leads that little group of three, has now only got an advantage of about 25 metres, so she really is in trouble, and she's going to need the day off tomorrow if she's going to continue on the tour. 3 stages to go after today. We've got a 5k individual time trial, again in the freestyle. We've got a 10-kilometre classic, the last of the classic phases, and the first of the stages in Val di Fiemme, and then of course the last 9k up the Alpe d'Huez, which was again in the freestyle. Mike, I worked it out, and I've gone and lost my calculations. 80% of the tour, including today, through to the final stage in the freestyle technique.
It's surprising, and I think that's why classic specialists like Justyna Kowalczyk, she's not here this year.
Now this is where I feel Østberg and Weng have got to break away from Nielsen if they want to beat her, because Nielsen will be 100% confident that on the final time up this climb she can blow away both of the Norwegians, and that would mean she could end up with her 3rd win out of 4 stages in the Tour de Ski for this season. It would be a brilliant start for her.
Well, and just coming up towards, what, 6.9 kilometres towards the top of this climb, Nielsen going to plan.
Jessie Diggins has stopped the rot in effect, I think. Mike, what's the margin between her? Actually, she's over a minute behind now.
Well, yes, about 1 minute 5 seconds, you're absolutely right, but Parma Koski for me is just having a great day. I think that Jess today is so exhausted after her efforts yesterday, not quite the same as she was yesterday.
Yes, she's so loose in the body. You can't help feeling that without the core control, she's not transferring the power from the arms into the skis. It's just inefficient skiing, especially when you compare it to Parma Koski, who's looking so solid.
And this really isn't Parma Koski's strength, the freestyle. She's definitely a percentage weaker freestyle in relation to her classic skiing. Having a great day, beginning to drop back now a little with Østberg leading the pace, really trying to get rid of Nielsen. Let's look at the ski glide again. The Norwegians, a bit tense round the bend. Nielsen slowly catching up, and she'll stand tall again. Her skis are running beautifully. She won't want to pass them yet, but she'll be thinking next time round, this is where she'll make her break, Nielsen. Lonely race being there in 4th position for Parma Koski. Nobody to help her, nobody to help set her pace.
But with the effort she put in on the first lap, she has at least on occasion had visual contact with the leading 3, and that can help her psychologically. She certainly won't have seen anything of Jessie Diggins, who started behind her and is a long way behind her now. Let's look at the margins. Remember, Parma Koski started 38.7 off the pace of Stina Nielsen. Nielsen still up with that leading 3, and Parma Koski considerably quicker. The margin just 25. 1 lap to go, 2.5 kilometres remaining. We're getting towards the final stages of this women's 10-kilometre pursuit. A lot of the skiers have bunched up at around 2.5, 3 minutes behind. Those who started in the wave, Mike, have done well, and they've swallowed up a few who started, 15, 20 seconds earlier. Still no one's made contact with the leading 3, but Parma Koski is getting closer. The last we saw as she went through the stadium with 1 lap to go, she was 25.9. I don't think, unless we have a fall at the front, I don't think she's going to close that gap, Mike, but she has limited the damage in terms of the Tour de Ski, but she won't get any bonus seconds.
That's the pity, isn't it? Running in 4th place there, and they're destroying the rest of the pack. You have to look another full, 54 seconds, 56 seconds to find Jess Diggins. So Parma Koski is destroying the rest of the field, as well as these 3 at the front.
Yeah, at the start of today we suggested the tour was between 5 women. That included Parma Koski and Diggins. The damage done with the bonus seconds coming their way, have we gone from 5 to 3, or have we gone from 5 to 4 with Parma Koski just hanging in there?
I think so, because Parma Koski, with another classic coming up, she's a classic specialist. She'll feel good about that, and that's why she's really raising her race plan today. She's doing something special today, Parma Koski. Jess Diggins has tried, and again a very lonely race there for Jess. It's another full minute back to 5th place behind Jess Diggins.
Well, it's time to put your cards on the table. Usberg has done most of the donkey work. Nielsen is in the best position. You keep saying she's got good skis, Mike, but with the snow coming down, she's got the slipstream plus the press track. Part of that ski speed is due to the fact that she's in the best position in that group of 3. Sure, that's going to make a difference when they come to that final climb.
I think it is. You get the sense, last shot we had, that Nielsen is struggling to stay with us now, because Weng and Usberg have been told team orders, get a move on, get rid of Nielsen before the top of that rise, and I think they're really trying to do just that.
Well, they're going to have to go very, very early, but don't forget that Usberg and Weng both have 3 stages of the Tour in their legs. They both went a long way in the sprint, although Usberg would have liked to have gone 1 stage further, and that was the opening day of the Tour. Only 1 sprint in the Tour this year. This is the 7th time we've had a pursuit in the middle of the stage. We always have a pursuit on the final day of the Tour de Ski, but this is the 7th time we've had one in the middle. I can tell you that on even years, 10, 12, 14, 16, the leader after the pursuit hasn't won the Tour. On odd years, 9, 11, 13, 15, Kuiten and Kowalczyk, Björgen have gone on to win the Tour.
Well,
so that would suggest that whoever's leading after today's race is going to win the Tour on Sunday.
How weird are those stats? I mean, you'd think there's something going on there, but well, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I was wasting my time last night.
But there's Nielsen, I think, beginning to struggle. This is where she's less effective, I think, than the 2 Norwegians. The lighter framework, and that certainly helps. Usberg at the front is really trying to get rid of both Weng and Nielsen. In fact, Nielsen's fighting back.
Well, she's just going to hang in, and don't forget this is a 2-stage climb. It flattens off a little, and then the steepest bit is yet to come. This is where we may see the move from Nielsen. Has she got that sprinting spark in her? Usberg looks the liveliest of all. Weng is letting the gap of, what, 1.5 meters open up between herself and her teammate. Usberg will be very, very aware of Nielsen, but Nielsen yesterday had already gone by this stage. Doesn't look as though she's got the same in the tank, but she may be confident that she can do it on the downhill, because she's close enough to get sucked along and nip ahead of the 2 Norwegians in the last 200 meters. In terms of sprinting speed, in terms of quick fibers, Mike, Nielsen's got it. Weng and Usberg generally aren't quite there.
And they both know that Nielsen's skis are running faster. They needed some 8 meters, I think, over the top of that rise. They didn't get it, but Nielsen now needs to close up. Her skis will do that for her.
27 minutes on the clock. We were expecting a winning time between 25 and 26. The fresh snow has slowed things down, made it a whole lot harder. Of course, they haven't been pushing 100% as they've raced tactically as they come down over the little bridge. Now Nielsen goes on the inside. She's got the quickest line, and that was a really good move from Nielsen. She'll be on the right as we look at this coming round the corner, and already she's gone from 3rd to 1st. Nielsen's heading for victory number 3 in the Tour de Ski for this year. She's going to extend her lead with those bonus seconds, and the Norwegians have been found wanting today. Weng and Usberg can't compete, and Nielsen got it right tactically. She takes yet another win, and Norway, who've been so dominant over the last 5, 6, 7 years on the women's tour, suddenly find their performances aren't good enough. Well done to Nielsen.
Nielsen, the Swedish team, the wax technicians there, what an effort. And Norwegians pride themselves in getting the best skis, the best wax. They won't be priding themselves much today, and I think Usberg and Weng will be a little disappointed.
Yeah, maybe they should have been braver and got Nielsen to break trail for some of the race at least. But take nothing away from Nielsen, it's all part of the game. 27.42 the winning time. Parmakoski, who got to within 24 seconds, in the end finds herself 42 seconds adrift. The pace on that last lap was brutal. Well, still minor places being fought for. This is a little battle that's been going on since the first lap. Fessel of Germany, von Siebenthal of Switzerland, and for Russia, Shikalova. They all started within a couple of seconds of each other. Harsum has been left behind, Mike, every single climb. She'll be glad that this is the last one. I'm not sure we're going to see her recover in time. 48 hours off as opposed to 24. I suppose that's significant.
It is significant, and they really need tomorrow as a rest day, don't they? Intense races. Shikalova and Fessel. Fessel's 10, Shikalova in blue is 12. They started 1 second apart, but they're riding in 4th, 5th fastest ski time overall today.
Well, what a situation we've got developing. Really, we want Nielsen to open up a gap of a minute or so before the Alpe Chemise. I think she's obviously climbing better than she was last year. She's not going to lose 3 minutes to Heidi Weng and Usberg on the climb on that final day. But if Nielsen can get herself a minute clear of the Norwegians, then I think we've got a real race on our hands.
We have, well, last year, Nielsen lost 4 minutes and 3 seconds to Heidi Weng's time up that final climb. She's a different race. She's much better freestyle this year. She's much better in endurance this year.
Diggins 5th position, and she started 51 behind, so she lost almost a minute to the leaders. Fatigue again. This is the stage. Sundby suffered at stage 4 last year. Therese Johaug suffered, but then and both of those recovered in the end. But they found this stage really difficult.
And without a doubt, Weng and Usberg are exhausted today. I think that's a wonderful performance from Fessel to move up from 10th to 6th, and that's good news at home in Germany for Fessel.
4 races in 5 days, don't forget, so far.
As Harsum comes in, I don't know if you saw the body language at the end. When Stina Nielsen went over to congratulate Weng, there was no reaction at all back from Weng. She didn't even look at Stina. Disappointed that Stina didn't take the pace on.
Well,
it's life.
You just have to admire Nielsen's strength, both physically and mentally. She knew where her strong points were. She knew if she was still in contact at the start of the last lap, she had a chance of winning.
And when you've got 2 people from the same nation, you know they're going to do the work. They know they're going to try and get rid of you. So the 2 Norwegians' aim today was get rid of Stina, and they couldn't. So they said, right, get through and give us some lead work. And quite right, Stina Nielsen didn't take it on.
Lara Mononen, Debatolis, Elizabeth Stephen down in 23rd, 4:21. She's a great climber. She'll be thinking in terms of top 15 come the end of the tour. Can usually take a minute and a half off most of the athletes. Number 30 across the line.
A lot of these athletes were from the wave start to 3 minutes behind.
Nordstrom, good day's work for her. Setlin comes in 5:04 off the pace, but as you can see from the W, she started in that wave. 4 stages gone. 3 of them have been won by Sweden and Stina Nielsen. Things are looking up for the Swedish team. They'll be getting excited about the World Championships now, which of course take place in Lahti. I think the Finns will be excited with Parmakovsky's performance. Everyone will be excited that the Norwegians aren't as dominant as they've been over the last few seasons.
Well, I was looking at that as well. Yeah, you've got Weng and Usberg up front, then Harsum down in 6th place, Lind, Haga back in 21st, and the other Weng in 22nd. It's not as strong. The Norwegian field not as strong as it was last year. I know we have Johaug taken out of this season,
and Bjørgen not racing here, so there are 2 of the big names. But do you think that's got anything to do with TUEs, these therapeutic use exemption drugs that the Norwegians have traditionally used for asthma?
I was looking at that, and in the men's field as well, they're still good, they're dominating, but not quite as much. And I did wonder why they're not quite as good this year overall, the Norwegians. They're still great, they're still racing very well, but maybe not quite as sharp. And we saw Finn Hagen Krogh yesterday pull out. Last year he was fighting to the end.
Yeah, I think their use of those TUEs is going to be, well, it's been under the microscope for a long time. But I think the Norwegians will say, okay, we've pushed our luck with it. We've got it wrong on a couple of occasions. The doctors have made some horrendous mistakes. The way they've applied the salbutamol has caught them out. So I think if there's one nation that's going to say, okay, we've got to be very careful with this, it will be them. Has it had an effect? Quite possibly it has.
Maybe. Quite possibly.
Freibel, Scartoni, at the back of the pack. 10 minutes now, the margin between them and the Tour leaders, with 3 stages to go. Well, just a reminder, 3 stages, 5K individual time trial. Now that's in the that's going to be in freestyle technique. That has to be the opportunity for Weng and Usberg to pull away. There's no chance of Nielsen tucking in behind them on that occasion. So that will be interesting to see what happens. And then the 10K Classic, Mike. But the penultimate stage is a mass start. And as we've always seen, it's so difficult to break away.
And that plays into Stina Nielsen's hands, really, doesn't it? She can hang on like we see her. She's great at being Olympic, just hanging on there to the pace, and a much better racer this year. It keeps it exciting. I'm not sure the last day, the final climb, plays into Stina Nielsen's hands entirely. I would love it to, but we'll have to wait and see. As we go down the list, Patrick, Italians, I was thinking the World Championships here in '87, the Italian women's team were winning medals. Belmondo, Discenta in those days, but the first Italian is 23rd at the moment. Some of the athletes still keeping yellow cards for infringements earlier on in the season, and if they make another mistake, they'll be DQ'd. So they can't make rule infringement mistakes.
And generally, that's the use of skating technique in a classic race. So
it is.
They may have to watch out on Saturday when we have the last classic leg. The overall standings: Nielsen now 6 clear, Usberg 11 down, Parmakoski 57. So, well, we were talking about whether it was a 3 or a 4 horse race. I think we're looking at 3, to be honest.
And it's a pity Parmakoski had was faster in terms of ski time. 3 seconds slower, but she was punished by not winning those extra seconds.
Charlotte Kalla, we thought she was coming back yesterday, but now finds herself 3:44. Don't forget, she's a former winner of the Tour de Ski. She won back in 2008. Settling 5:19 behind. All these athletes are likely to start in the wave on the final day, but we still have a race on our hands. I mean, last year it was really Weng, Usberg, Johaug. This year it's Nielsen, Weng and Usberg who are going to be playing their cards for the next 4 days in an attempt to outwit the opposition.
Parmakoski will be thinking, well, what she has to do in the classic race, the mass start, she has to win it, pick up 15 seconds bonus.
Weng remains the overall World Cup leader. Usberg still second. Nielsen's only got herself up into 4th position. Don't forget, you only get 50 points, not 100, for winning a stage race. But the bonuses come at the end of the tour. All those 50s that you didn't get piled onto your tally. So whoever wins the tour today is going to be in a very strong position to claim the overall Crystal Globe come the end of the season. Well, we've got a little time on our hands, and I think we're going to hang around and have another chat with Stina Nielsen. Is she going to be surprised? I think her confidence is growing with every race. When you suddenly start beating people who you've been 20-30 seconds behind, you can't fail but get more confidence.
You can't. And Nielsen said on day 1 she's never felt better when she took each of the sprints she was asked to do that day.
Did Usberg do anything wrong?
She couldn't do any more. She tried to break both Weng and Nielsen. Once she had to pull back those 12 seconds, and she pulled those 12 seconds back so quickly, I think she needed to, but she just could not find her magic.
Heidi Weng might have expected to have a lead of 30-45 seconds in the Tour come this stage. Certainly when we look at her results over the first couple of weeks of the season in Ruka and Lillehammer. But here's the woman that has denied the Norwegians so far, Stina Nielsen. She won the sprint on the opening day. She won yesterday in the skiathlon, and she's won today in a very similar style, Mike. Waited patiently. In fact, she waited even longer today, having built her confidence on each lap, realizing how quick she was on those downhill sections. And of course, just tucking in behind the barrier of the 2 Norwegians, getting sucked along over the 10,000 meters. It was an easy win.
Incredible. I hope Jeff asks Stina when in the interview, which I hope we get. I hope he asks her, you know, did you feel intimidated when the Norwegians asked you to take some lead time and they were a bit intimidating her maybe? She didn't care. I'd like to hear her answer. Well, she must be feeling great, Patrick. She was 24th in this event last year overall at the end. She's been leading it for the last couple of days. That's a great feeling. Yeah, and good news for the Torsby ski gymnasium as well. I think all the young skiers up there will be absolutely hopping
obviously a very tactical
with joy.
Race today with the girls.
Here she is.
Just talk us through the final sort of 300 meters from the top of the climb into the finish.
Yeah, my tactic was not to be in the front because that's not my strongest card to play. It's the sprint, so I just wanted to be in a good position before the last downhill, and I was third on the top and did a really good job downhill and had amazing skis, so it's amazing to win today.
And you guys obviously weren't going slow. It looked like some fighting about who takes the lead or whatever, but the girls behind you weren't closing any time, so it was still a good pace out there?
Yeah, it was a good pace, but that's, like you said, nobody wanted to be first, but it seems like we have gone pretty fast even though, so that's great.
Well, enjoy another day in the leader's bib. Enjoy your rest day tomorrow, and we'll see you in Toblach.
Thank you.
Toblach, of course, where we have the 5-kilometer time trial in the freestyle technique. There she is, 8 World Cup wins. She's notching them up one after the other. She started this year with only 5. 19 World Cup podiums to her name. She's getting in amongst the greats now, and she's only done 63 World Cups, so the percentages are fantastic.
Nearly 1/3 of her starts are on the podium. Brilliant.
Well, that wraps up our coverage of the women's. The men's race coming up very shortly. I hope you can stay tuned for that. They race over 15 kilometers today. Ustiakov is the man to beat. He's the only man to have won the first 3 stages of the Tour de Ski on any occasion. He could make it 4 out of 4 today. It's hard to see a way that Ustiakov's going to get beaten. Today, Nielsen was the one on form. Brilliant finish from her, and Sweden getting yet another World Cup win. Well, we stay in Oberstdorf, not quite as picturesque as it was yesterday, with blazing sunshine and very, very cold conditions overnight. But we have one more race to go, the men's pursuit over 15 kilometers, again in the freestyle technique, and that starts in just under half an hour's time. What we'll do first, though, is to have a look at yesterday's skiathlon and enjoy the success of Sergei Ustiakov of Russia. Well, the sun hasn't come out here in Oberstdorf, which is a bit of a shame, but we've still got some good numbers watching the race. The women's race certainly was entertaining, and we're expecting a bit more of the same in the men's. And the distance slightly longer, 15 kilometers, freestyle technique, pursuit start. So Ustiakov, who heads the Tour, will be the first away, and he'll have a margin of some 29 seconds over Sundby. Well, here is the man who's dominated the Tour so far. 3 stages, 3 wins, and he's taken his tally of World Cup wins up to 9. In the past, they didn't used to count stage World Cups as a World Cup win, but they do now. And so Ustiakov has 9 to his name, and that's not bad, Mike. 9 out of 70 World Cup starts. He's made a big impression, and of course he was one of the main players, or the support act in the Tour of Canada last year.
Very much, and what a super talent he was as a junior. 7 gold, 7 silver in under 23 and junior categories. He clearly had so much to give to the sport.
Are you surprised to see him dominating the Tour as he has done so far?
A little bit. La Clusa, just before the Christmas break, he was off. He could not stay with the pace in the mass start there over the same distance as today. He was, 42 seconds behind, could not stay with it. Christmas break gave him a lot of form, if you like, so he's come back here in supreme condition after the Christmas break.
Well, we can't see the mountains today, which is a bit of a shame. It's a beautiful area of Germany. Not the best known. Most people head to Garmisch and just south of Munich, but we're slightly east of that stunning venue, and with a little bit of fresh snowfall, it's starting to look like winter. Here's Switzerland's number one.
The pursuit event now, you move yourself up a little bit in the standings. You're looking forward to the chase a little bit?
Yeah, first of all, it was a great race today, and it's great to be back on the podium, and yeah, let's see what's possible. I think in a good position, but Ustjugov and Sundby look very strong, so it will not be, I think it will not be possible to close the gap, but maybe we have a good group, good guys around me, and let's see what's possible.
Well, he hasn't got anyone around him, which is rather a concern for Dario Colonia. He starts some 15, 16 seconds behind Alex Harvey. That's a big margin to try and close down in the early stages. But Harvey doesn't have anyone within 45 seconds in front of him, so I can't see Harvey trying to chase down Sundby and Ustjugov. So maybe Harvey will say, OK, I'll let Dario catch. We'll work together. Maybe that will work to his advantage. But that's quite a big advantage to give away.
Maybe I was thinking there in that interview, I was thinking, where's your positive attitude gone, Dario? You're saying it will not be possible to close down. I think it will. He's in really good form. A little, I think he can. Ustjugov has to go out strong. Sundby has to try and chase him down, but within that they might fade in the latter stages. So I think Dario could have the chance here to set the fastest time.
Yeah, but a minute 25, Mike, on Ustjugov. He's not going to close that down in 15k.
Oh, definitely not. No, but to close the gap, he said it's not going to be possible to close the gap.
I think he was, by that, he meant catch them.
Yeah,
possibly.
And, you know, and of course, the gap, if he does ski faster, the person who crosses the line first will pick up 15 bonus seconds. Let's say Sundby will pick up 10. So it really is difficult for him to make much of an impression. Maybe that's where his mindset was.
Well, I wonder how confident the Russians are. They haven't put a foot wrong so far in this Tour de Ski. Ustjugov has been their main man, and he's led from the front, winning the first sprint. So he's won the sprint, and he's won a 20-kilometre. That's what you call an all-round skier, and the whole idea initially of the Tour de Ski was to find the best all-round skier.
At the moment, he is looking quite outstanding.
Auf jeden Fall werden die Bedingungen nicht besser.
Welcome back to a snowy Oberstdorf. Plenty of Glühwein being consumed. It's not particularly pleasant, not as cold as it was yesterday, but the snow's been coming down hard. There's been quite a lot of wind earlier on today, which is another reason that skiers will be hoping they've got some company on this race. I said Oberstdorf was to the west, to the east of Munich. It is, of course, to the west. We're not so far from Bodensee, which some of you may know, and then if you go even further west, you've got Liechtenstein. So we're right down that southwest corner of Germany. Big mountains, particularly to the south. British forces will know this area because it's not so far from Sonthofen.
Very close to Sonthofen. The Allgäu adventure training used to take place here. Skiing, teach the troops how to ski. Lovely, lovely location. Snow temperature -1, humidity 67. I would have thought not that difficult a day to prepare the bases of the skis.
Well, here's a profile you'll be getting used to. Those two little climbs in the first kilometre, and then a relatively flat, steady climb up towards the biggest of the ascents, which comes at just before the 2 kilometre mark. And then it's a fast descent down into the stadium, and then you hope you carry as much speed into the second lap as possible. 15 kilometre free. They've only got 2.5 kilometres of snow, so we've got to go around it on 6 occasions. Bonus seconds only at the end because it's a pursuit start. Ustjugov, Sundby, as you can see, starting 30 seconds apart. So the margins in the men's race, Mike, is much bigger than they are in the women's.
Very much so. And normally it's not. We don't see that trend. We see it the opposite way. Women's field is exciting. And of course we had Andrew Musgrave starting bib number 7, only 2 minutes behind.
Well, we were discussing how many women have a chance of winning the Tour. There are certainly 3, because only 10 seconds separating the top 3, or 11. In the men's, are we down to just 2 men?
It's looking quite strong that way at the moment. Alex Harvey, 110 behind. Dario, 125 behind. They've got a lot of work to do.
And what can Musgrave do? He starts 2 minutes 1 second behind today. He's in 7th position in the Tour standings. He's got a gap of some 16, 17 seconds to Iversen in front of him. He's got 8 seconds to Kruger behind him. But more importantly, in my book, Maurice Magnificat of France starts just 9 seconds behind Musgrave. And those two have worked well in the past. So they get their orders for the early starters to prepare. Ustugov is there and ready. What was your favoured warm-up, Mike, for a race like this?
I think definitely to get 4 or 5 kilometre skiing, easy to begin with. Certainly take your heart, your lungs, all your muscle groups up to maximum in terms of intervals, and definitely at least take one of these big climbs before the stadium in your warm-up.
Yeah, so an easy skiing initially, but then those intervals, crucially, what length, what time of interval were you putting in?
I'd be looking at certainly 1:30 to 2:30, just to make sure the body, not absolute max, just taking the heart up to maximum, getting your heart and lungs prepared. But of course they have a lot of ski testing to do as well, so they're out for about an hour 15 on skis before the race starts.
There's Alex Harvey. The bib gives away the fact that he is 3rd in the Tour standings, 1 minute and 9, and Ustugov is away, slightly distracted by all the others coming into the start area, and that is because the margins are so big. 1:14.34 on the clock for the Tour so far, and today 15 kilometres should add some 35 minutes to that time. And just like the German trains, they start absolutely bang on time. So Ustugov is away. There's the margin between himself and Sundby. And then we've got another 40 seconds before Alex Harvey starts. All these men are going to have a lonely ski, Mike, and if the snow thickens like it did in the women's race, it's going to be pretty tough work at the front.
I think it is. Well, Sundby straight away, we saw he set out his stall. He's trying to, his game plan must be to try quickly to make an impression, try and close this gap down ideally. They've all got to be tired though, so who knows, maybe Ustugov is going to be so tired after all his efforts so far, maybe Sundby will be.
There's Alex Harvey, Canada's #1. Now, do we talk in terms of Pierre Harvey being Alex's father or Alex being Pierre's son? I think it's almost swinging the other way. Alex has certainly had more success on the World Cup than his dad had, who famously won the Holmenkollen 50 just a couple of weeks after the 1988 Olympics. There goes Dario Cologna. He's looking better with every race. He hasn't got that sharp finish that you need to win the mass starts. Maybe today is a day that he can gain some time. Needs to get back within 15-20 seconds of the race leaders if he's going to do any damage. 5 is Marcus Hellner, another man who's coming back to form, and right behind him Emil Iversen. And now in your picture, it's number 7, Andy Musgrave, all the way from Huntley in Aberdeenshire, and he is having a sensational season. New coach this year, a lot of work on the classic style, but he's just as good as he used to be in the freestyle. Can he make some gains today in terms of position? I think he might be able to get onto the back of Iversen.
Quite possible. This group, I think they're going to work together. There's possibilities at this stage in the race to form a little group, which tends to make it easier.
Yeah, they can share the lead. They'll be hoping that they're more generous than Stina Nielsen was in terms of doing their fair share of the work out the front of the group. 17, Hans Christer Holund of Norway, 2:36 the margin for him. Jens Berman of Sweden goes at 2:48, and then it will be Bezmetnik of Russia at 3:01. Nice to see a good mix of nationalities in the top 10, Mike. There have been years when we've only had 4 nations represented in the top 10, but at the moment we have 7. The only nation with more than 1 is Norway. They've got 4 men in those top 10 rankings, but we've got Russia in there, Canada, Switzerland, Sweden, France, Norway and Great Britain. How about that?
It is quite outstanding. Here's the wave taking off. It is quite amazing to see Muzzy in 7th place. This is the world of cross-country skiing. Only the best are here, and he's not just holding his own, He is breaking new ground here, and must be building confidence all the time. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, I continually impressed by what he does, but we've got to look at where he can improve, because at the moment he's sort of 1% behind the best. He didn't look like winning at any stage yesterday. What do you feel he's got to do to be able to compete with the Ustigovs and the Sumbis?
His margins, I think, as you said there, his margins aren't massive that he has to improve on. Yesterday, he was still 17 seconds behind in the Classic. That's a whole lot better than last year. I think if he keeps working on his Classic, we saw he's great at double poling, but he needs the status where he can stick in that lead group as yesterday in that mass start and be a real contender. He's there or thereabouts, just 1% more to go.
But the 3 or 4 men at the front, let's include Colonia because he played his part, Sumbi and Ustiugov definitely, Alex Harvey, they were playing with each other. There were little bursts. Musgrave didn't have to do any of that. It was just all out effort all the way. He doesn't seem to have got to the stage where he can respond to every move and then ease off when it's feasible.
Yes, at the moment he's a chaser. Yesterday was about chasing the big names, but he's still ranked 7th, so his 3 days of chasing so far are absolutely fine, and I really hope he can give us a top 5. It'd be fantastic if he could have the fastest time again as he did 2 years ago in the 25k.
We'll keep an eye on that. Ustiugov through the first of the splits at 1.9. Sundby started 29.5 behind. He's not gained 10 seconds. Has he gained any time at all?
Not much.
29.5, remember. Sumbi looking relaxed. And he's going to be a second or so slower. 30.8, so he's lost just over a second. Alex Harvey started 1:09 behind. He's gone very wide on that right-hand side, Mike, on that early part of the climb. Dario Colonia behind him. Colonia started 1:25. I think he looks as though he could be the only man to be making ground on this first of 6 laps.
He does look that way. Now, the earlier wind, it dropped a lot of pine needles on the track. Maybe that's why Alex was going wide there. And you can see the snow falling for Ustiugov and Sumbi at the front. They're kind of trailblazing. It's, what, half an hour since the women's race were on this track.
Yeah, to be honest, the difference between the top 4 in the snow is minimal. But where it will count is in that big group, certainly in the wave, but they're too far behind to threaten. But from positions, 10 through to 15, those men could get a significant advantage.
That's what I was thinking, certainly further back in the pack. And, well, once Ustiugov's gone round one rotation, it'll be all normal.
So Colonia, like Sumbi, has lost just over a second in terms of his position to Ustiugov, and Harvey has lost some 9 seconds in that opening 1.9 kilometres. Helner goes through at 1:42, started 1:42, he's now 1:51. Everson started 1:44, he's now 1:52. Musgrave started 2:01, and it's Musgrave leading this chasing group. That shows you how much respect these other skiers have for him. He's now at 2:08, so he's lost 7 seconds. Kruger isn't there. Magnifica at 2:12, he's lost 2 seconds. So Ustiugov, the winner of the first 3 stages of this year's Tour de Ski, is the man setting the pace out front. Maybe a wise decision, maybe just an indication that he's that much better than everyone else at the moment.
Possibly, but remember, 6 times around this track, Ustiugov setting such a fast first lap. I think he might tie up later as this race goes on, marginally.
Well, that has to be the familiar style of Ustiugov. Drops a lot of weight down onto that right-hand side. Power skiing has become the way for the Russians, certainly. Masses of work in the gym.
Well, Sumbi's pulled a little bit back on the descent into towards the stadium. At 2.5, he closed on a second and a half.
Well, he's being fully tested, isn't he, Mike? It requires to race a pursuit, having started first, requires a very different mentality to racing a mass start or the skiathlon yesterday, where you're nearly always in amongst the mix. You know exactly what's going on. Today, Ustiugov has no chance, no option but to go hard from the start.
Yes, and Ustiakov is not that familiar with taking this position. He must be feeling pressure out front there, as you say. No one else to help, no other guidance of what's happening.
Now, can we double check the margins? That looked, was it 49 seconds behind Sundby, having been just 29 behind? Ustiakov looks as though he has taken a huge amount out of the Norwegian on the way down the hill and through the stadium.
Well, I thought the caption must be wrong, because at the last, at 2.5, he was only 29, unless Sundby has fallen on the fast corner, but I'm surprised we didn't see that.
Well, that's possible. The margin back to Alex Harvey might tell us a little bit more. Remember, Alex Harvey started 109 behind. There he is with Colonia closing. 125 initially for Colonia, and he started 16 seconds behind Alex Harvey. He's now about 16 meters behind the Canadian, so Colonia's tactics are clear to see. Question is, when he catches Harvey, will he stay with him, will he work with him, or will he keep that pace going?
I think he will keep he'll rest up a little, but I think this is a Dario day. I think he's going to set the fastest track time, and if Alex works with them, they have a good chance of closing in on the leaders, this man and Sundby. He's got to be tired. Remember day one, Ustiakov, the way he attacked the sprint races. He led the time trial by 4.3 seconds. That's never happened before. He put huge effort into day one, and he's still looking good on day 4 of racing.
Yeah, Ustiakov trying to get his second successive win here in Oberstdorf. Only one man has won more than one stage in Oberstdorf in the years that the tour has been coming here. 11 stages in all held here. This is the 12th. Petter Northug's won 2. So Ustiakov could equal that record today. .49 kilometers to go at the start of today. 80% again in the freestyle technique. Looking at the stats of the whole tour, Mike, 30 kilometers in classic, 55 in freestyle. No wonder Kowalczyk hasn't turned up.
Yes, it doesn't play into, if you have a weakness, if you're stronger in classic than freestyle, this tour is not for you. And as you say, that's why Justina's not here. In the men's field, most of the athletes are fairly equal. Muzzy last year was quite substantially weaker in classic. He's improved that this year, and I think you have to be very good, high standard in both freestyle and classic.
Ustiakov, who's picked up 1:57 of bonuses already, and as a result leads the sprint standings. Now, 29 seconds was the start margin, remember, between Ustiakov and Sundby. We know that has grown. The question is, has Sundby started to wind it up? Well, that's looking better. That is looking much, much better. I think that 49-second caption must have been wrong, Mike.
It must have been.
And at 26.7, Sundby starting to make some gains. Harvey and Colonia moving nicely. Don't forget that Harvey had lost some 10 seconds to Ustiakov. Colonia started 1:25 behind.
This is looking good for Colonia in black there. Alex, he looks so relaxed, and Alex, I think, is a great pacer. He knows how to pace all of his races very well. Sundby is going to be thinking positive now. He's got, what, a 2.5-3 second gain, and that's going to feed some positivity in his mind.
But if Ustiakov wins this, he picks up another 5-second advantage over Sundby. So he needs to close the gap by more than 5 seconds to get any gains at all.
Well, there's two more seconds on that descent. That's precious.
There's Marcus Hellner, and he's got a massive skiers coming up behind him, including number 7, Andrew Musgrave, who's done really well. And Musgrave, as we suggested, Mike, he'd wait for the likes of Magnifica and Kruger to come through and work with them. He's doing just the right thing, tucking in behind them, and that group are eating up the ground on Marcus Hellner. Now, the snow conditions may play a part in that, simply because if you're on pressed snow, it's a little bit quicker. I think actually the wind on the flat, open meadow is where the difference is being made.
It is, but Magnificat is so good at chasing. He's pulled 30, 40 seconds off Hellner already, and he's got momentum. So Magnificat, for me, the fastest on the track.
5 kilometers completed. Ustiakov, Sundby, Harvey, Colonia, the leading 4, and then a big group starting to close down the time on those leaders. Back on the Tour de Ski, just a reminder, this is stage 4 of the 7 stages programmed for this 2016-17 season, the 11th Tour de Ski ever. Sundby, the man who took the title on the 10th year. Could this be the second year that the Russians claim the title? This man is in a very, very good position. There you see the margin, and for the first time, Ustiakov getting a glimpse of Martin Jonsrud Sundby, who has closed the gap, or he had at the last split, as they went through 5k.
Well,
Sundby 24 behind, Mike.
I make it 19 seconds now, so Sundby has the chase on. He's realizing that Ustiakov is looking, for me, like a spent force, and that really is powering Sundby forward. This man looks tired.
He's still moving incredibly quickly for a tired man. After what we've seen, I wouldn't be surprised if he puts in the fastest final lap of this course. Remember, it's 6 laps to make up the 15 kilometers. It's not an easy day out in these conditions. He's still looking very comfortable. His arms, Mike, certainly compared to Petter Northug, his hands a lot closer to the body in that skate too.
Very much, and he doesn't throw them behind, which reduces his cycle of movement, therefore loading the ski again. Sundby's hands going slightly further round. Sundby must be feeling good now. He knows he's got his prey, and closing in on Ustiakov.
Now, a little bit of stubble's not going to slow you down, but when you've got a beard like that, surely that's got to be worth a couple of seconds per lap.
I wonder, I would love someone to do an analysis, a wind tunnel analysis on that beard.
You know, we don't wear lycra suits because they look good, you wear them because they're quick.
Must be a small fact. I think someone looked at it in terms of cycling, a big beard, and you're talking tiny margins, like a 100k race, 2.5 seconds. I'm sure I read a stat there on cycling.
Then that begs the question, why do we spend hundreds and hundreds of pounds on a helmet?
Exactly, get rid of the beard. It's obvious.
So Colonia has gone ahead of Alex Harvey. Harvey has responded because Colonia's not slowing down. He'd made quite a good gain. He was back to 1:13 behind, having started 1:25. So 12, 13 seconds. Colonia has gained on Ustiakov, the race leader. And for the first time, we see them on the big climb together. Ustiakov maybe getting worried. The technique's starting to look a little ragged for the first time. 17:45 through 6.9. It's going to be a really interesting split, Mike, from 6.9 through to 7.5 and the completion of the third lap.
It's incredible. We're not even halfway yet, Patrick, and Sundby's got this down to 18.4 now. That's got to be tightening up Ustiakov. He must be going through a little bit of tension and fear right now.
Okay, so half the margin would be 15 seconds, going through 7.5. Ustiakov so far has been very good on the downhill sections. I can't believe that Sundby's going to get to 15 before he comes through the stadium.
Before the race, I was looking at the stats of the women's race, and the Russian women performed well today. Shikalova very well, so I thought the Russian skis will be running well, but I think Sundby's skis we can't compare, but I think they're a little better than Ustiakov's, because he's gaining on this descent. 2 seconds last time.
Has he got it down to 15? That's what he needs to do, but closing halfway, half the time at half the distance generally isn't enough. You need to be in contact before the last lap starts, because the man in front generally can raise his game for that last 2.5k.
Well, there's another 1.1 second purely, entirely on that descent, where you're not putting in any physical energy at all. It's all about technique on the down and glide on the skis.
Sundby's just got to be thinking, okay, I've got a day off tomorrow. I can afford to push 100%. These two men have got to try and close the gap sufficiently to have a chance of overtaking Ustiakov and Sundby should they struggle in the last 2 days of the Tour.
By my calculation, Colonia, he's first or second. Magnificat, I think, is the fastest on the track. and Cologna's second fastest.
It's been a good season for Alex Harvey so far.
Yes, I think he was a little surprised, Alex Harvey. Ruka, he thought he might be contesting for the podium. He was a little off. And often that is with the travel across from Canada. You're knocked out time-wise for about a couple of weeks. Well, Muzzy, not seeing Muzzy in that little group. He's a little detached now in 10th place. Sadly dropped from 7 to 10 at the last point of checking.
Yeah, I think Musgrave looking a little tired on the last time we saw him on the big climb. Hellner's in there, Magnificat is there, who started some 10 seconds. Musgrave in the background has been left behind, so could be skis, could be fatigue.
At half distance though, that's quite depressing when you've seen others go past you and you haven't the power in today's fitness terms to stay with them. It's quite depressing, really.
And it's Magnificat who's doing the donkey work as well, wasn't it? Those two who worked in Toblach when Musgrave got the fastest stage time?
He had the fastest, over 24 kilometres. Yes, Magnificat came up, caught him. It was the same race as today, a pursuit, and he stayed with him all the way and outsprint him at the finish. Sprinted. Where's my English going? Well, is he looking better this time round? Marginally.
Still getting good glide, Ustiakov. 3 races, 3 wins, and he's made it look pretty easy, but I'm trying to think of a year where someone has dominated from start to finish, Mike, and never looked vulnerable. Lukas Bauer in his prime was on tremendous form. Cologna, when he's won, he's always been challenged by Northug at some stage.
Yes, he has, and Northug was always able to do something special when it was a pursuit or certainly a mass start. He'd always pick up the extra seconds, the bonus seconds. Interestingly, I thought Ustiakov looked a little better. He's just distanced himself by another 3 seconds ahead of Sumbi. So he's been told, Ustiakov has been told, team orders, get a move on. he's puffing hard as Sumbi.
Yeah, he's been working really hard, and that could mean that the gap that started at 29 could end up bigger than 29. Still a decent margin between Sumbi and Cologna, who's moved up into 3rd. The last split time we had, Mike, they're still over a minute behind. 1:02, somewhere around there.
Still going well, isn't he? Cologna setting this now the 2nd fastest time on the track.
Yeah, Harvey's looking comfortable behind. Those two need to share the work if they're going to close up on the leaders. Another chance to see the time margins at 9.4, just over 5 kilometres still to go, and Sumbi's there or thereabouts. He's got it down to 18, so that little wobble at the start of this lap, he seems to have recovered from that. Cologna and Harvey teaming up nicely, but I think Cologna will be regretting the fact that he's not sharing the work with Harvey.
Yes, that's got to be a little annoying for Cologna, and Harvey doing the right thing. The faster skier passes you, get in behind him, but it would be nice if he shared some work so they could try and close the gap between them.
Now, Mike, if we take away the margins gained with sprint bonus seconds, we would have had, what, 6 seconds between Ustiakov and Sumbi at the start of the race. We would have had 19 seconds between Ustiakov and Harvey, and we would have had something like 28, 29 seconds between Ustiakov and Cologna. So we would have had the top 4 starting within 30 seconds. Again, I ask you, is it time to take away bonus seconds?
It loads it to success, is loaded to success, so it breaks the rest of the field and it doesn't give them a chance. I would say yes, take them out. It does keep races alive and kicking, when, you know, otherwise it becomes very tactical, and that's why they put these bonus points to sprint within mass starts as well. So I get it, I understand it.
Yeah, it can make the individual race more exciting, but it doesn't in my view, it doesn't really improve the overall tour. We want to have a climax on the final day.
And, you know, there's Magnificat running fastest time at the moment. Why not give the 15 seconds bonus to the fastest man on the track, and the second and the third, because the leaders are still going to be advantaged by having such a lead at the front.
Yeah, I'm with you. Well, that's nice to see. Alex Harvey goes in front. 10 kilometres completed, and only 4 men through so far. I should tell you that we've had a few withdrawals today. Lindblad of Sweden has decided to withdraw. Tsinsov of Bulgaria has withdrawn, and Len Valius of Canada actually never took his place on the line. So the Canadians are down one, but they'll still be celebrating the fact that Alex Harvey is going so well. He's third at the moment, sharing that third and fourth position with Dario Colonia. I think Harvey looks very good. And isn't it interesting, Mike, that the person in second place is definitely recovering? So if they were doing maybe a couple of minutes each in front, that Colonia-Harvey combination could be taking time out of Sumbi.
Yeah, very much. Look at Ustikov now. He is on a big turbo push. And once again, Sumbi took this time 1.8 seconds off Ustikov on the descent from the high point. They're pushing so hard on the limit.
Well, this is a replay of the Canadian Tour at the end of last season, and we probably don't need to tell you who came out on top in the end. It was Martin Jonsrud-Sundby who overtook Ustiakov on the final day of that tour. Again, it was a pursuit. Ustiakov does not want the same thing to happen here, but I don't think actually it's that crucial for Sundby to overtake Ustiakov today. He just needs to be close enough to make a challenge on the final Sunday.
Yes, we'll have to wait and see. Ustiakov's certainly tired today. He's got 2 laps, well, just under 2 laps to go. And Sundby, he just desperately wants to try and haul him in, to try and, you know, reduce the deficit, and maybe to challenge for the 15 seconds for the victory.
And looking at the climb times for the Alchemies last year, Sundby took 17:10. That's just for the uphill section of that final stage, and Ustiakov took 17:29. So only 19 seconds between them. Ustiakov essentially is on better form, so that margin could be down to 5 or 6 seconds. I think this could be the most exciting climax to the Tour de Ski we've ever had.
I think so. Sundby is not, for me, as convincing this year as he has been the last 4 years. I know he's had some issues and they've got a 2-month ban this summer, but he doesn't look to me as strong as he used to be.
Didrik Tunseth has teamed up with Simon Kruger. The two Norwegians starting to get a little bit of space between themselves and Helner, number 12, Matti Häkkinen hanging on in there. Häkkinen, who had such good start to this season up in Ruka this year. Some of you may be wondering where the Swede Kalle Halvarsson is. He got sick after Lillehammer actually when he was in good form. I think he probably had the beginnings of that in the last race in Lillehammer, a pursuit where he was hunted down remorselessly by Sundby, and they were hoping he'd be fit for Davos, but he wasn't. They were hoping he'd be fit for La Clusaz, but he wasn't, and he's still not 100%. So Halvarsson not taking his place on the start line at the start of this tour.
As we watch Ustiakov at 30 minutes, just Andrew Musgrave, he's in 10th, still in 10th position, but he's way detached by, some 26 seconds from Häkkinen, who is ahead of him in a pack. So that's a real pity for Muzzy. Not quite got the engine to date.
Sundby, who got to within 17.5 seconds by the halfway stage. I think his presence has spurred Ustiakov on, and I think we're going to see something special from Ustiakov again on the last couple of laps here in Oberstdorf. There's the margin, foreshortened by the camera certainly, but it looks to me, Mike, to be bigger than 16 seconds. I think Ustiakov's starting to open up some space.
It does, and I wonder what's going through Sundby's mind. Last year he had the ability, the power to close any gap. He was leading by 3 minutes 15 into the last day. Now he finds himself in second place. It's a different mindset, and he's losing time, you're right. but he'll pick it up on the descent.
20.7. 11.9 completed. 15 kilometers, remember, the total distance today. And it's still Russia with Ustiugov controlling the pace. Alex Harvey and Dario Colonia coming through the stadium for the final time before the sprint finish. 2.5 kilometers to go. The margin still at just over a minute. They've actually done exceptionally well. Colonia started 1:25 behind. Alex Harvey started 1:09. So he's pretty much kept pace with Ustiugov of Russia. Colonia is the man who's made the most gains so far. Interesting, Mike, to see whether it's Colonia or Magnifica who's had the fastest time on the day. Magnifica started 2:10 off the lead.
Well, Magnifica, last I checked, he'd taken 18 seconds off the lead time, so he was the fastest. Then Colonia, then Sumbi. He might have changed this time.
Yeah, I think that margin's gone back to 12 at the moment. Other names that have done well, actually, Didrik Tonseth is certainly a man. He started 2:13 behind, and when he went through 12.5 kilometres,
yeah, 1:56.
He's
behind.
1:53 behind now, so he's gained 20 seconds. So Didrik Tonseth, the fastest man out on the tracks so far. There he is, wearing bib number 10, looking comfortable, and he's got a train who are feeding off his strength.
Very much. Just looking at Muzzy on the climb and coming through soon the final lap. He's now detached by 1 minute from Magnifica.
Still clocking over 25 kilometers an hour, and although it looks flat, this is a gradual climb through the meadows as he heads towards the next of the steeper climbs. Ustiugov trying to eke out a few more precious seconds, and it certainly seems as if that is what he's managing to do.
Well, I'm seeing, well, there it is, 28.1 seconds. So has Sumbi really lost 8 seconds from the stadium to this point?
Well, this is the clock that went wrong initially, so maybe it's still 10 seconds out.
But you do feel that he's suffering. When he lost on the hill, that's where his strength normally is. He really is suffering here.
He worked very hard on laps 2 and 3. Once he sensed he was closing down on the Russian, and maybe he's paying a price for that right now.
And Ustiugov will certainly be told by his backup team, oh, this, yes, he really is opening the gap now. And as soon as Ustiugov realises that he's hurting Sumbi, that'll give him energy.
Yeah, he's taken, what, 5, 6, 7, 8 seconds out of Sumbi on that last lap alone. In fact, he's done it since the stadium, so incredible work by Ustiugov. Colonia...
He's irritated. Well, this is important. Who's going to take this third position? 5 seconds bonus at stake. At the moment, I would say Harvey if it comes down to the last 100 metres. So Colonia needs to break him on the track.
Well, I don't think there are going to be any pleasantries between these two at the end, because Colonia is being frustrated by Harvey, who's clipping his pole, clipping the back of the ski. And as we saw there, just holding the pole, which is okay on the downhill sections, but once it flattens out, either you go past or you stand up.
Yes, so you don't interfere if it's not on the downhill section, really. And as well, it's the code, you can push the athlete's ski pole if they're in the tuck position, so that you don't ride over the back of their skis.
How long before we see Dario win again? Surely he'll manage a victory at some stage this season. I think likely to come in a time trial start, Mike, rather than a mass start, because he doesn't look to have the sprinting qualities of Ustiugov at the moment.
Well, maybe even in 2 days' time in Toblach for Colonia. I think he's just coming into form more and more each race.
10k time trial in Toblach, the next stage. Day off tomorrow, as you'll know. And then Saturday, Sunday for the 2 final stages. A 15k mass start classic on Saturday, and then the traditional finish to the Tour de Ski, the 9-kilometer pursuit up the downhill ski slope. That's how steep it is. I'm not sure whether it's a blue or a red.
Let's call it a red. It's steep. Some sections they're going up, it's 29% in terms of steepness. Dario irritated again by Alex Harvey. He said something else there just before the final little descent before this rise.
Well, you know what? Ustiugov is doing so much work on this last lap that, having had his lead cut to 18 seconds, it's going to go up to over 30. and with an extra 5-second bonus on top of what Sundby will get, we could be looking at a margin of 35, even 40 seconds in the Tour standings come the beginning of stage 5.
Well, that'll make the Russian team very happy with tomorrow as a rest day. Let's see the timings. I make that 34.9 seconds. Well, Sundby really is fading now.
And with Sundby just going over the summit, Ustyakov's already down into the stadium to make it 4 wins out of 4. He's now written a little bit of Tour de Ski history. No one had won 3. He's now won 4 in a row. No one else has had a look in so far this season. And with the rest of the Russian team absent because of the McLaren report, he is flying the flag at the moment. Of course, it sours his victory a little bit, but we just have to admire the strength that he's shown over the last week or so. Sundby on his own going for the finish. These two, have they worked well together? Do you think they've actually gone faster because they've been together? I'd like to have seen Alex Harvey do a little more of the work.
It's certainly worked into Alex's favour, hasn't it, to be tucked in behind Dario.
So what are we looking at? A margin of 30 seconds. Apologies for the loss of the clock. There it is, 37 plus the differences in margins. It's over 40 seconds as we head towards Toblach. Now let's hope we see a little sprint finish. They can both sprint when they want to, when they got something left in the tank. Harvey leads the way round the final corner. Surely Colonia will put a fight in here.
Come on, Dario, come on, come on, come on.
It's not happening,
no.
And Colonia knows it. He'll stay just behind Alex Harvey up the finishing straight, and they limit the damage done today. Harvey started 109 behind, and he's finished 108. So in fact, he's taken a second out of Ustyakov. That's something to cheer about. Colonia even quicker, having started 125 behind.
I think Ustyakov suffering cramp there without a doubt. He's a man on the edge. He really had to push there.
Here comes Matti Häkkinen. Now, this could be the quickest performance of the day. Häkkinen started 2:20. He's had a tremendous run. He's taken more than 30 seconds out of the race leaders. His race of the Tour so far, and he's got himself back in the running. 1:45 behind. He's not in the running for the win, but a podium, I suppose, is possible. Hellner and Tunstall in a photo finish. Kruger finishes 8th, having started in 8th, and just behind him is Maurice Magnificat of France. Those flush red cheeks that usually indicate someone who's got a huge amount of hemoglobin going through the blood. Muzzy's another man who had that from a very early age, usually a sign of a good endurance athlete.
Yeah, very much. I didn't see, I might have missed it, but I didn't see Sundby congratulating Ustyakov. Kind of stayed at the other end of the pen there. Well, this was almost predictable. Poor old Dario here, he didn't have a chance. I think Alex skis were running a little faster.
Well, there's a good lesson for those learning ski tactics. On the final downhill, you want to start 3 or 4 meters behind the person in front, build the speed, overtake them as you hit the bottom of the hill, and from then on in, it's much, much harder for the person who led down the hill to get back in contact. We saw a perfect demonstration from Stina Nielsen, aided, I'm sure, by the fact that her skis were a little bit quicker, but I thought she executed her race plan to perfection.
It was incredible. She had a great, great day. Here's Muzzy coming in now. Lost a little bit of time. Still 10th. Well done.
Still in the top 10 of the Tour de Ski. He's got a massive athletes behind him. Deerhow, Gayar, Rutter, Larkov. Most of those in front of Musgrave have won World Cups at some stage or the other. There are still some big, big scalps behind him. There's Larkov of Russia, down in 18th position at the moment. A lot of those men in the wave, Mike, they gained good time. They benefited from skiing in a group, certainly.
I think so, I really do. Larkov, well, he started 3:15 behind.
Meitig of Germany. Well, he's having a great outing, not even in the national colours. 27 is Lukas Burgel. New names coming up through the German team. They need them. They need some success quickly. Clement Paris of France. Björnsson, Sadie Björnsson's brother, racing for the United States, and finds himself 8 minutes 39 behind. 37.58 the winning time today. Ustiugov of Russia does what he's done on the previous 3 stages. It's all over for another day, but a familiar result with Ustiugov unbeaten so far in this year's Tour de Ski. Sumbi, last year's champion, is the crown slipping away? He should be quicker on the Alpe d'Huez, but on current form, the Russian might be able to beat him on that as well. Great battle between Harvey and Colonia. This likely to be the battle for the 3rd place on the podium come the end of the Tour. Cheeky move from Harvey. He got a lot of help from Dario Colonia all the way round, and then just sneaks a second or two ahead of the Swiss athlete in the final 100 metres. So 10 World Cup wins now, 22 World Cup podiums. Percentages are very, very high. Junior world champion. He showed us what he could do on the World Cup at the end of last season in Canada. And I guess we shouldn't be that surprised that he's up with the big boys, having been on the podium in the Tour last year.
Absolutely. The graphic's wrong. He's only 24-year-old. He's not 34, so he's got a bright, bright future.
So the final results from today, and these positions actually correspond to their Tour positions as well. All you've got to do is add another 5 seconds to Sumbi's time, and another 10 seconds to everyone else behind Ustiugov, because he gets 15 bonus seconds.
Very much the athlete who has lost the most today, and is a real pity. Iversen won here last year twice, and he's gone from 6th right down into, what, late 30s, and he's lost 4 minutes 30. That really does put him out. Well, there he is, 31st position, 6:20 behind.
Now, hopefully we'll have time to give you the Tour standings as well, which will give you the exact timings. But look at those margins now. 8 minutes behind for Kilik and Rastelli. The damage has been done early on. Only 4 stages completed. A total of 85 kilometres skied in this year's Tour de Ski. Third place today, where he started, Alex Harvey. He was quicker than Ustiugov, but he got 10 seconds less bonus, so ultimately ends up losing 9 seconds in all. He should be around 1:20 behind the lead, but very, very tightly matched with Dario Colonia. He's happy with the way it's gone. Marignon Sundby, he's used to winning, he likes winning, and he's not getting any of it.
No, I think he's frustrated. He tried so hard. He got the deficit down to 17, but it dropped all the way back to 37.2. He will be frustrated. In fact, he'll start tomorrow at 2 days' time, 42.2 behind by my calculation. With just getting those 10 seconds bonus, whereby Ustiugov got the 15 for crossing the line first.
And he was only 19 seconds quicker than the Russian on the Alpe d'Huez last year. So it's looking good for Russia. It's not over by any means. That time trial in Toblach could be crucial. Sumbi does tend to make up more ground on the classic races, but that was last season. Things have changed this year with the new rules of the TUEs, and I suspect that the margins won't be as big. That will play into the hands of this man.
He fought well. To be closed down and then to be told by your coaches that, listen, he's now 17 seconds behind when he started 30 behind. It's something special from Ustiugov there today to dig so deep He looked quite unwell at the end. He limped off the track. A little bit of cramp.
Working hard on the last 2 laps can gain you a lot more ground than working hard on the first 2. So the margin's now 42 seconds by our calculations. Hopefully we'll bring those up for you in just a second. There we go, 42.2. We're starting to get a hang of this, Mike. Harvey in 3rd position, 118, and Colonia at 124. Heikkinen, big mover today, up into 5th position, having started the Tour today in 12th. So great news for the Finns. And Marcus Hellner still there or thereabouts. He started 5th, he's lying in 6th now, but certainly could mount a challenge for the podium positions should something go wrong to either Colonia or Harvey. So it's all about Russia in the men's. It's all been about Sweden in the women's. Stina Nilsson with 3 wins out of 4. Well, here she is. We know she's a good sprinter, but every time out she seems to get better at the endurance events as well. She has now started to believe that she can not only compete with the Norwegians, but she can beat the Norwegians, and she's done it 3 out of 4 times. Her 8th win today, and of course winning the opening stage of the Tour this year. And Oberstdorf has been successful for Stina Nilsson. 2 races, 2 victories. Her tally now up to 8. Well, that's all we've got time for today. Four Hills action coming right after this with David Goldstrom. They're in Innsbruck. We're getting towards the final stages of the biggest ski jumping tournament of the year. The Tour de Ski has a break tomorrow. They have 24 hours off, and then we'll be back in action when we head to Toblach. The race there is a 10-kilometer time trial freestyle, and then we have just a 15 and a 9 still to go. Ustigov remains the man to beat. It's looking unlikely.